Hey there, folks. Joshua Bardwell here. Unfortunately, the footage from my face camera I just didn't hit record. So instead, my editor came up. I was like, hey, just do it the best you can. And my editor came up with this. Enjoy. It's the beginning of a new month, and that means it's time once again for my new product roundup and giveaway. What we're going to do is we are going to go over some of the new products that came out this month just to keep you abreast of what you might want to be looking a little closer at. We're going to give you our off-the-cuff opinion. And at the end of it, we're going to do a giveaway. We're going to give away one of these items to some lucky winners. And I keep saying we because it's not just me doing this, but as you probably know, my co-host, it's Blunty. Hi, it's Blunty.
Hey, Joshua. How's it going today?
Good, man. I'm really excited to look at all these new products we've got lined up this month. And as we're doing it, be thinking about which of these we want to give away. When we get to the end, we always just decide at the end. But let's kick it off. And I'm going to take the privilege of it being my channel, and we're going to start with a product of my very own. This month, my QAV-S JB Edition frame came out. It's the QAV-S frame that I liked very much with a few changes that I requested. I've got a full review of the frame and a full build video for my perfect freestyle build. They're going to be linked down below. And by the way, all the products that we're talking about are going to be linked down below. And there's going to be timestamps in the timeline, so you can switch between the chapter breaks if you want. But what we got up on screen right now, GetFPV has done a ready-to-fly build with my frame. And so I'm just going to throw that out there. It is not my perfect freestyle build, which has all the parts that I specifically liked, and half of them are out of stock and you can't get them anyway. So GetFPV was like, well, what if we just take some parts that we do have in stock and make something out of it? I don't know. Blunty, what do you think? What do we got here? Let's take a closer look.
Yeah, I have a random question for you that I was curious about. I noticed in your freestyle build, it looked like you put, this does digital or analog, right?
Yeah, the frame it has 20 millimeter mounting in the back, so it can do Caddx Vista, or it can do any analog VTX, but it won't do the air unit.
Gotcha. Okay. And then, what size camera does it take? Will it take the full DJI FPV camera?
Yeah, so it's sized for a micro camera, which means it has a 19 millimeter spacing. The full size DJI camera is like 20 and a half, I think. It's just slightly wider. So basically, you have the choice to either make the camera mount 19 millimeters and it'll kind of squeeze the DJI camera a little, or you make it sized for the DJI camera and a normal camera is loose. And we went with the first option. So it'll hold a DJI camera. It's just squeezed just a little and it's no big deal.
Gotcha. You give it a little push and it'll get in there. Okay.
Exactly. In fact, some people do that on purpose with micro cameras so that they're held in there more securely. But that's the direction we decided to go.
Cool.
Yeah, so you don't need shims or anything. But this build here, currently 4 left at the time that I'm recording this. We'll see how many of them are left by the time you're watching it. It is in stock. You can buy it. It's got my frame, and they have put, let's see, T-Motor Veloci motors 2206.5. It's a little bit of a small motor. It's almost 2207. It's fine. T-Motor 50 amp ESC, the Pacer 50 amp, I think. Pacer F7 flight controller, Caddx Ratel, and a Unify Evo. I think basically what they're trying to do here, Blunty, I think they've just got some leftover stuff from like FPV Crate that they're trying to clear the shelves, but it's not bad gear.
Yeah, it seems like a good build, a decent build. So
yeah. Anyway, if you want someone to build it for you and you want to be able to get all the parts in stock, there's a link down there. And now we'll move on and we'll stop with the shameless self-promotion to other products. In fact, let's promote somebody else's frame. What do we got here, Blunty?
This is Chris Rosser's frame, the AOS5. He has been working on his design principles, making some cool videos we've shared on the news previously to talk about, frame resonance and how to fix it and what design features are good and bad, column damping and stuff we've learned about. And I think a lot of that is at play here on this frame that he's built.
Yeah, if you've been watching his channels where he's done resonance analysis of other people's frames, there's no doubt this frame it must be like as close to perfect as you can get based on his design principles. So what do we see here? We've got the triangle trusses, which he's talked about how long, straight, unsupported arms have resonance issues. And he's also talked about how the closer you can get the arm to a square cross-section, the better the resonance characteristics will be. So he's got that on display here.
So what's the weight on this? Where are we coming at it?
Let's take a look at the listing. Weight.
Do we have it? No.
Here, AOSRC is his website. So the website we're looking at here is CNC Drones, and they're the ones who are cutting it. AOSRC is the website for his frame. 115 grams with all hardware. Respectable.
That's
very respectable. Lots of cutouts.
Yeah, that comes in lighter than an Apex, I think, right? Like an
yeah,
Apex
I mean,
like 120.
Apex claims to get down to 115, and I'm sure that under some configurations that's true, but a typical build for the Apex is going to be closer to 120, 125. A lot of times you'll see frame manufacturers give the weight with aluminum hardware, which to me is not you'll save 10 grams by going to aluminum hardware, but it's not an acceptable trade-off because those aluminum screws strip out so easily. I hate them and I'll never use them. But 115 grams is respectable. It looks tough. I mean, we know that truss design is going to be tough in a crash. And 6mm arms are going to be reasonably tough. I have had front braces on frames like some of the Caddx Machineworks frames will have a front brace like this, and in a good strong frontal impact, it will break. But anything will break if you hit it hard enough.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how these come out, like how people fly stuff. There's a lot of features in here. Normally, when you're making a lot of these feature choices, you're making exceptions in the frame design. You're making it heavier, or you're making it more resonant, or whatever. And it seems like a lot of those decisions were taken care in this frame to get it as light as possible, while still doing a lot of the things that are goals for better resonance.
It even looks like you can fit an air unit. Damn, not that I would personally fly an air unit for 5-inch freestyle, but that's pretty impressive. I'm trying to think of anything to hate about it. Not because I have a personal vendetta against other frame designers, now that I have a frame with my name on it. Just because I think as a reviewer, you got to find, you can't just be all sunshine and roses. What don't we like about this frame? Anything?
It's hard because there's a lot of things I'm looking at that other frames, like mounting style, but you can see multiple sizes of mounting.
Yeah, we got 30 and 20 up front and in the rear. Very versatile mounting. Although that 30mm mounting is going to have some limitation depending on, because there's so much stuff close to it.
Oh,
if you stick an ESC in here, maybe the ESC coming out the back, it'll interfere with these plates. Maybe you'll need to raise it up slightly. I mean, there's some limitation. 20mm hardware is not going to be an issue. No question about that. It's a good frame design.
One of the things I would say is in a glide, let's say you have 3 places to put hardware. So you have a front, a middle, and a back. And in this, you've got 2 main areas that you're mounting. So kind of a different thing if you're used to that style.
Yeah. And I said when I first saw it that this middle area feels kind of like a dead space. But Chris said, well, I put my V-Fly buzzer in there. I put my capacitor and my TVS diode in there. I was like, damn, that kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
So looks like a pretty good frame. Not everybody is going to appeal to the aesthetics. A lot of people do buy a frame for aesthetics, and it's a very utilitarian frame. But be interesting to see what happens when people start actually flying and crashing it. Good job, Chris. Yeah, good job. Okay. There's a couple other products that I wanted to put right up here at the front, and then we'll go into our categories, Blunty. Here's the next one. This is the Newbeedrone Infinity AIO. This is a single board, flight controller, and ESC all in one. It's out of stock. It immediately sold out. Sorry. Go get on the wish list, and welcome to the year of 2021. What year is it? is it 30 millimeter or is it toothpick size?
It's 30 millimeter. Yep. So this is 30 millimeter. You've got 3 UARTs, but one's a half a UART with the S bus. So you've got an inverted RX, and then you've got 2 full UARTs on this.
So if you're not flying free sky, you basically have 2 full UARTs. Is it an F4 or an F7? It must be an F4 then.
I believe it's an F4. It says
an
down
F7,
just a little bit.
An F7 wouldn't have inversion issues. No, it's an F7.
Yeah, so I guess that's they label it as an S plus pad, but I guess you could invert that.
Yeah, if it's an F7, then that just means you have a single UART RX that you can use for anything. A little odd that they label it as S bus since it's an F7. It could be whatever, but you could let's see, it's going to be an RX. So if you're doing something like Immersion RC Ghost, you would need a TX, not an RX. So that would be unfortunate. Maybe you could find what else uses just an RX. There's almost nothing that uses just an RX.
Yeah, not really.
Where's your other UART? You got TX and RX for UART 2. Oh, you got another. Yeah, okay, I see.
Yep. And then this also is DJI or SharkBite only. So there's no analog OSD chip on here. So this is for your digital needs.
Yeah, okay. So analog pilots need not apply. It's interesting. We see a lot of these 25 millimeter toothpick all-in-ones, like the iFlight Beast. The Flywoo has one. Beta FPV, of course, has one. And they're just not, in my opinion, applicable to 5-inch, maybe an ultra lightweight 5-inch, maybe. But they're just, the ESCs, I don't think, hold up. But here we've got a 30 millimeter with big heat sinks, presumably like normal sized FETs. The big question that I have, though, is around the price. $129 compared to something like an iFlight Beast F7, like 80, maybe $90.
Yeah, I think the Beast F7 has come up to like 81 or 85 since like the price changes, but still
That's true.
Substantially under 130. I'll say that on their page and a lot of the people that I've talked to about this, it seems like this is meant to be super durable. The whole goal of it was like, hey, if we're going to put this in an AIO, we're going to like cover it with heat sinks. We're going to use good FETs. We're going to make a thing that hopefully just works, is a good quality AIO. If that's the case and it doesn't burn out and it works really well, I think it's probably a pretty good deal. But 130 seems like a post shortage price to me.
That's a good point. That's a good point. And Newbeedrone was one of the vendors who recently made an announcement that they were going to be increasing their prices. This is something that all vendors are going to do within the next few months. I mean, or they're going to have to find some way to make up, because everything is getting more expensive. The FETs that you put on the ESCs are getting more expensive. No one is immune to this. So comparing it to the pre-iFlight, as far as I know, has not yet increased their prices. So maybe it's not fair to compare it to an iFlight Beast. The other thing to say is that, as I said, the iFlight Beast is a 25 millimeter, and I wouldn't trust it on a 5-inch build, no matter what amp rating it claims to have. So maybe a 30 millimeter with actual FETs that can actually take the abuse of a 5-inch is worth paying a premium for. $130. It's a $60. It's still expensive. It's a $60 flight controller and a $60, $70 ESC. That's still pretty expensive.
Yeah. It's a lot of money. I think what I'll say is I think the value proposition here will be borne out over the next few months as we see other products come into line and people continue to restock their FCs and AIOs.
Yeah.
And where we see prices come in and how much the shortages affect other people. Because if everybody comes up, then maybe this is perfectly fine in value for a while.
Yeah.
But I think if we look at normal prices or anything like normal prices, the Beast F7, or even like you said, you can get a flight controller and an ESC for much less.
Yeah.
It just kind of depends on where the market ends up with.
You can get a diatone. I mean, okay, like a diatone flight controller F7. I don't know, like $50. I'm not looking at a product listing. ESC $50. You could easily come in at $100. Is the quality? That's the big question here. Number one is, how will other people's prices change as the shortages continue to affect people? Number two, if this is bulletproof, bomb-proof, maybe it's worth $130. It's a single board. Just put it in your build. Limited soldering. Maybe it's worth it. You also got to be okay with only having basically 2 UARTs. which some people, one's going to be taken by the DJI unit and one's going to be taken by your receiver unless you're using S-Bus or Spectrum or FlySky. If you're using Crossfire or Tracer, basically you don't have any spare UARTs, which is going to be a limitation some people won't like. All right. There you go. Got another flight controller here. Blunty, I'd like to get your off-the-cuff first impression of this.
All right. Lumenier Lux H7. So I've seen a little bit about this. This seems like a, I don't know what the word is, like a, when you have like a bag and you go in there and there's just like everything in the bag.
Yeah.
And whatever you need, you can get out of the bag and do your job.
This is like someone went to a buffet and it was everything you can fit on one plate buffet. And they were like, yes, they got their salad, they got their spaghetti, they got their steak. The plate is overflowing. This thing has, is it 14 different motor outputs? 12 for sure.
Yeah, 13 PWM outputs. So, yeah.
A crazy.
Dual ESC plugs, right?
Yeah, it's got dual. This is actually really clever that they did this. They're like, we're going to put 13 different, so you could use an X8, you could use a 12 motor, whatever. Oh, they're going to put 2 plugs for the 4-in-1 ESCs. Yeah, of course. But a lot of people don't do that. They'll have 8 motor outputs on their flight controller, and they're like, yeah, solder it up if you really want to do that, you weirdo.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's like everything. I mean, I can't think of something this doesn't have.
Yeah. It is certainly not an elegant layout. I mean, it's just a grid of pins.
Yeah.
Who cares? I don't know.
This is reminiscent of Maytech, like the wing boards to me. Like, there's just like, hey, here's all the pins.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
solder them up.
Yeah. What is VB2? Has it got a second VBAT sensor? Surely not. What's VB2?
There's a CU2, so that'd be current 2 as well. I would maybe.
Oh, it's got 2 VBAT and 2 current sensors, so that you could like have theoretically two batteries. Does Beta? I don't even know Betaflight supports that. This thing is ridiculous. It's got an H7 processor, of course, so it's got way more processing power than Betaflight needs today.
Dual gyro.
Built-in camera switching. Yikes. So here's the only hesitation I have about this. Well, first of all, it's $75 and it's going to be overkill for a lot of people. So fair enough. The other hesitation I have about it is that the Lux F7, their previous generation, has had reliability issues. And I always hesitate about this because it's hard to separate the signal from the noise, and the people who get a bad product always complain the loudest. But I personally have had experience with these enough to say that there have been issues, and I don't think it was just a bad batch. I feel like that there was a fundamental flaw in the manufacturing or design of the Lux F7 that made me stop recommending it. And this is an unknown.
Yes.
But
yeah, it's funny enough. I think the issue with the F7 was signal to noise. I think the main problem was that the gyro was giving bad issues in flight. At least that's the main thing that I saw.
Yeah,
so you were getting like bad problems on one axis, and you couldn't lower filters because you were just getting like bad information because presumably there was an electronic filtering issue. But it was tested over quite a few boards. UAV Tech did a video on it. I've seen countless logs.
UAV Tech, you're right. UAV Tech did a video where he basically panned the Lux F7 and said, "Don't buy this. It has a design flaw." I saw dead voltage regulators for like no reason. I don't want to go into detail about how I know this. Like, it's not just that I got an email from somebody. I personally had experience with people who were working with them, and they would take it out of the box, they would solder it up, and then it would work, and then like 15 minutes later, the voltage regulator would be dead, and would be like, crap, put another one in, and the next one would be DOA. So I don't want to harp on this too much, because this is a new generation, and it deserves a fresh start, and it does have a lot of features going for it. But I definitely am a little gun shy about the Lux line, based on my experience with the Lux F7. So we'll have to keep our ear to the ground. All right.
dual gyro, so at least you can filter out any issues. But yeah,
Yeah.
hopefully we'll hear good things about this, and it'll be a good board.
Okay. Certainly has a lot of capabilities, especially if you're building a large, like a Cinelifter, and you need eight or 10 motor outputs. This is going to be one of the only boards. This and the SP Racing. Dominic Clifton certainly deserves credit. The SP Racing F7 and H7 have like 12 D-shot outputs. So, kudos to him. These are the only two that really will do it. All right. Next product that has to be mentioned is the Caddx Air Unit Micro. And by the way, I should say the page that I'm pulling up right now is a RaceDayQuads page. There are links to all the different stores. Well, not like all the stores, but there are links to a bunch of different stores. We're not trying to play favorites by pulling up one store or the other, but we just pick one store and show the listing from them, and we just try and spread the love around a little bit. The Blunty DJI has handed off the manufacturing of the Air Unit to Caddx. Is the official take. So what is the deal with this product versus the original Air Unit?
Yeah, so as far as we can tell, it's basically the identical Air Unit. So it's the old Air Unit that DJI used to sell, but instead of the old DJI camera, which was the one we referenced a little bit earlier, the 20 by 20 or whatever, 20.5 camera, this is the new version of that camera. Looks closer to be like the Nebula Pro, and this one is also a 19 by 19.
Yeah, I've heard people say that the internals are the Nebula Pro, although I don't know how anyone would know that. But that's what people have said. They've just put it in a different case. As far as being the same Air Unit, I did see some side-by-side pictures that suggested that the MMCX connectors had been moved slightly so that the MMCX were less likely to pop off and break off. Have you heard anything about that?
No, I definitely noticed they're just a little bit different like that. So yeah, maybe just some slight manufacturing change there. But as far as anybody can tell, basically everything else is the same. So like all the internals and all the functionality will be identical.
Yeah, okay. Great. All right. So if you're looking for an Air Unit, this one is, it's in stock. The one reason to buy an Air Unit over a Vista, in my opinion, for a freestyle build, it's in stock right now for $200. This is it, kids. When I designed my frame, fitting an Air Unit was not a priority to me because I was like, no, I'm just going to use Vista. Vista is the one to use for freestyle. And now you can't get a Vista. Maybe I should have. Well, anyway, done is done.
Yeah.
All right. Well, this one is going to. This one's going to really excite you, I think, because I know you are a big, big fan of ExpressLRS. We've got two announcements. The first one is that RaceDayQuads is now carrying the Happymodel ExpressLRS receiver and module, and even this new Happymodel flight controller, Whoop flight controller. Wow. And the other relates to this. What is this module from that we're seeing on Pyrodrone here?
So this is this is catered to a very specific group of people. So this is for everybody who has a T-Lite that wants to get on ExpressLRS.
The jumper radio.
Yeah, so there were issues previously with like crossfire power levels and all that kind of stuff. So this kit handles all that for you. You'll have to make a small hole in the back of the radio, and you'll put a power board inside of the radio, and that power board will snap into this, so this like plugs in the back of your radio.
So you're not going to have the issue that was documented with the jumper T-Lite and Crossfire, where it didn't, like the voltage regulator or something wasn't able to supply enough power to the module.
Correct.
This will fix that.
Yeah, so this does not have JR Lite bay pins, so this won't work in like a X9 Lite or something like that. I think those modules are still coming from Happymodel. I think they said a month or two. However, Wesley Vardy, who we've talked about, who did range testing and has done some work for you as well. He has developed an open source solution that basically you can put this into, and then you snap it in, and then this will fit with a little bit of DIY into a JR Lite Bay if you want to do that, and you don't want to wait for Happymodel. So I'll make sure we put a link to that down in the show notes.
Yeah, when I first saw this, I thought it was just a light size module for any radio like the X9 Lite, the X Lite, but then they were like, no, this is just for the jumper T-Lite, which seems like an oddly specific thing to do, but more power to you. But it's nice to hear that the light modules are coming.
Yes.
And then this one over here, as I said, we've got RaceDayQuads carrying the regular Happymodel ExpressLRS receivers, which we talked about in a previous month. But this, I think, I don't think we've covered this yet, is a new flight controller from Happymodel with built-in 2.4 gigahertz ExpressLRS on board.
Yeah, I think maybe we discussed the 900, but yeah, now this is the 2.4 gig version, and you can buy it. Now it's available to buy.
Yeah, which is saying a lot these days.
Right. So it's all together, all in one for you. You've got the standard ceramic antenna we've seen on a lot of the other ExpressLRS 2.4 gig systems.
Yep. That is the antenna. No antenna, no little wire antenna hanging off. And
it's going to be like a typical, Happymodel Whoop board. So they've got VTX on this as well. Yeah,
VTX built in. Price $57. Perfectly reasonable for a receiver and a VTX and a Whoop board, especially because, like, a lot of times the Whoop boards will have a crappy D8 receiver in them, and you'll get maybe 300 yards of range, maybe, or fail-safing like crazy.
Being pretty generous, yes.
Whereas this one, even with this ceramic antenna, because of 2.4 gigahertz low raw ExpressLRS whoop-de-doo magic, you probably will get more. You'll easily be able to outrun your video. You would expect.
I think the tests I've seen from these ceramics are anywhere from like 3 to 5 kilometers.
Oh, well, that's plenty.
Yeah, plenty for a whoop board.
And is the 2.4 gigahertz ExpressLRS module, is that out? Or do you still have to flash your Ghost module?
Yes. Yeah, the ExpressLRS 2.4 modules are out. We looked at the Lite TX, but the regular TX is just out of stock everywhere.
Let's see.
I think
you could always buy it from Fatboy FPV, and he'll build one for you. Yeah. All right. Well, that's pretty exciting. All right, ExpressLRS, keep doing great things. Yes. How long, Blunty, until TBS, Immersion RC, or FreeSky puts a ceramic antenna on one of their devices? Because it's going to happen, right?
Oh, yeah. I can't imagine it'll be long. It probably depends on how much people bug them about it. But if I had to guess, I would guess, I don't know. I don't know.
Let me rephrase the question. Who's going to be first?
Yeah,
What order will those dominoes fall?
The way it's been going, I think it depends on how fast Tony Cake gets it done with Immersion RC. And then depending on that time frame, because it seems like TBS is going slow, but they're going to, they've teased Crossfire V3, so that'll come out and do a bunch of features at once. So I think it'll be but Immersion RC is pushing constantly to do these feature changes. So.
I think that's my gut read. That's how, if we were doing a betting pool, I would say Immersion RC first, because Immersion RC is hungry right now with Ghost. They're moving fast, and they're just pushing out new stuff all the time. And I feel like they will see the inherent advantage of this and be like, yeah, we can do that. I feel like TBS is going to be last. They are slower to iterate their hardware. Their hardware is very good once they get it out, but they're slower. It's coming in. They're going to do it in 2 weeks, right? Yeah. The other thing is, if you looked at their switch from UFL to MMCX, people were begging them for MMCX on their VTXs for a long time. And they kept insisting that UFL was better, and it almost felt like a pride thing where they're like, no, they were almost resistant to their customers' demands. So it feels like they would be resistant to this because they didn't think of it first, and they'll be last. So I would say Immersion RC, FreeSky, Crossfire is the order it will happen.
Oh, I don't know. Yeah, I don't. I would switch FreeSky and TBS.
Do you think FreeSky will go last?
Yeah, I don't even know if they'll make a ceramic antenna.
That's a good point. TBS will hold out, but will dig in their heels, but eventually give in. And FreeSky, 2 years later, will be like, huh? What are we doing?
Yeah.
All right. TBS would argue that FreeSky won't do it until TBS does because they clone all their things.
Oh, but, very true.
I won't weigh in on that. All right, let's move on. Having gotten these sort of high priority products out of the way, we're going to categorize now. And the first category of stuff we're going to talk about is new bind and fly or ready to fly quads. And I think the first one we're going to look at this month is the Crocodile Baby. And Blunty, when we first looked at this, you had a good question. What was your question when you first saw these?
So I was wondering, what stage the baby, becomes the Mr. Croc?
Right. When does it grow up?
When does it grow up? So
yeah. How old does it have to be before you start calling it Sir, Mr. Croc? And I think the difference is to be the weight, right? The Mr. Croc is their sort of full fat 5-inch freestyle build.
Mr. Croc was this quad's father.
Right. The baby is the lightweight. It reminds me of the Recon 5 or the Recon, if that he said, the GEPRC Recon 5. A lightweight, less durable, but longer endurance 5-inch. I can't decide how I feel about this category. Never mind this individual quad. I guess if you're going to make a lightweight long range 4-inch, then obviously it makes sense to do a lightweight long range 5-inch, which is going to have better efficiency due to the larger props. So, okay.
Yeah, I think this seems very just niche. Like if you're trying to do long range 5-inch and you want specifically like this style of build, this is definitely an option for you. But I think most people will tinge towards like a more standard, like a Mr. Croc style quad.
Yeah. I can't, like, you show me a 4-inch lightweight, like a Flywheel Explorer or a GEPRC Baby Croc 4, and I'm like, okay, cool. You got this little 4-inch that goes a long ways. Yeah, I get it. As soon as you show me a 5-inch, I'm like, why am I not freestyling this? And then you say, oh, but it's lightweight and long range. And I'm like, if I wanted long range, why wouldn't I be doing a 7-inch? But I mean, there are answers to that question.
Yeah, I do think maybe you talked about this on the roundup for your 4 inches, but I think 4 and 7 are both good brackets for that long range, like smaller long range, or like 7 is like, hey, let's just go long range. Yeah, this is a weird niche for sure.
Yeah. I guess there's an argument to be made that many of the problems with a lightweight 5-inch go away. That, like, the biggest problem with an ultra lightweight 5-inch is durability, but that goes away when you focus on cruising and long range flying, because you're not really going to be doing proximity stuff that results in hard crashes, is the theory. And all else being equal, you should get longer flight times out of a 5-inch than a 4-inch. So yeah, okay. $250. Let's just glance at the specs. 600 milliwatt VTX, 2004 motors. That's a fine motor for this prop, I think. F7 flight controller, GPS built in, assuming the GPS works. Long range, more safer. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I know. 600 milliwatt is low for me. Like, I don't know why you'd put that in a 5-inch long range. Like, at least a watt, right? Like,
I mean, depends on your definition of long range, but yeah, obviously, I mean, if you truly want long range, I'd say 800 milliwatts is just like the minimum. And ideally, you'd want to be closer to 1 watt or more. It's got to just be a price thing that they're not putting a bigger VTX in here. But it's better than like 400.
Sure.
Yeah. I mean, suffice it to say, you're not going to go like 20 kilometers on 600 milliwatts.
Yeah.
Not without a really high gain antenna. All right. Somebody out there is going to love this. I don't think I would buy it.
If you love this, let us know in the comments.
There you go. All right. Next up is going to be the... let's do the GEPRC Mark IV. Now, this is a standard 5-inch freestyle quad, and I've actually reviewed the GEPRC Mark IV a little while back, and I thought it was really good. It flew really good. What they've done here is they have put a Caddx Tarsier in it, so you have high-def recording on board, which I can't decide. Like, if you have a 3-inch, where you can't carry a GoPro, Ciati does this a lot. You put a hybrid, RunCam hybrid or Caddx Tarsier on it, and then you have some high-def recording. But on a 5-inch, what's the point? You just put a GoPro on it, right?
Yeah, I think, this is maybe another niche bracket. Like, we've talked before on the news about gyro flow, like some other options for stabilization. So maybe you could do something like that with your Tarsier footage here and maybe get something close. But I think, I mean, if you're doing anything with the footage of any note, then you're just going to want to put a GoPro on the quad, and a 5-inch can do that. That's kind of the point of flying the 5-inch. So I definitely agree with you that for the image, it's probably some better options.
Yeah, the thing is, all of these split cameras have much, much worse image than a GoPro. I mean, that's just a given. If you say, well, I don't want the weight of a GoPro. Okay, but then why are you flying a 5-inch? I mean, okay, I guess. But I just feel like the image from a Caddx Tarsier, or even a Runcam hybrid, which Ciati loves the hybrid for 3 inches. That's probably the best you can get. I feel like I'd rather see a GoPro image. But I guess maybe if you're severely budget constrained, or if you just don't want that weight or the risk of crashing and breaking it, yeah, maybe this is a good way to go.
I was gonna say, maybe this is for somebody who like wants to put videos on YouTube but doesn't really care that much, but doesn't want to put DVR up, because I could see like analog DVR could be rough, you know.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So maybe if you just want to show your friends some cool videos, or like, you know, think quads are really cool and have some neat videos, maybe this is a good option, because the GoPro is something you can break. It's pretty expensive.
Yeah. No, you're right. I was just thinking about that aspect of it, that, you know, people say, oh, well, I can't afford a GoPro. Well, you know, maybe you buy a refurbished Hero 7 for a couple $100, and that's, you know, it's something you might save up to. But it's easy for me to forget because me and everybody I know, if you smash a GoPro, you just go to Best Buy, you spend your $40 on your insurance, and you get a new one. And you just, you know, every time you do it, it's $40 or $60, depending on which insurance policy you got in which camera. But that adds up. I mean, for like a pro YouTuber, that's like, yeah, okay, that's a business expense. But that's not something that every like normal person would want to do.
Yeah. So maybe there is a good niche here.
Yeah. Okay. Well, there it is. It's a good freestyle drone. Caddx Tarsier, I don't know how good that is compared to like the other stuff that's out there, but check out some reviews and see what you think.
So next up, we'll take a look at some more bind and flies. So these are in a specific category, the 2.5-inch Cinewhoop category. This is an interesting category, maybe another what we would call niche category, or maybe not even that. Yeah, I don't know. I'm struggling to find exactly, you know, what the point of this is, or what you'd be carrying here.
Yeah. So we've got here the GEPRC CineLog 25, and then we also saw Holybro has the Kopis Cinewhoop 2.5-inch, and we've also got, no, those are the only two. There's also, oh no, I'm sorry. Here's the iFlight C85 Alpha, which is an 85 millimeter, even smaller, so it's going to be 2-inch props. And I'm just like, really? Do you need, I mean, it's cool that you can, but I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like these are all in that naked GoPro class that we've seen, and they just keep getting smaller.
Yeah.
You know, they're trying to shrink them down, and I think at some point, it seems like, I guess you'd be relying a lot more on stabilization. You're hoping that you don't have a windy environment. You know, there's a lot of variables. I think that the whole reason you're flying a 3 or 3.5-inch Cinewhoop is to like cut out a lot of that, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like you could fly like a slammed squirt in the wind, right? And that's going to fly great, versus something like this, which is going to get tossed around quite a bit, and you're going to rely on stabilization, and you're going to get warping, and like, yeah, I think it's a certain thing you're looking for here for sure.
Yeah, I could see how if you're going to be using something like an Insta360 camera where it has flow state stabilization, or if you're going to be doing something with real steady go, which of course any professional doing Cinewhoop style shots is going to be using stabilization, it could help make up some of the handling problems that a quad like this would have. Still though, I mean, it's going to really struggle, especially the Alpha C85. Now they've gone down to 2-inch with 13 sized motors. You just really need something this small. I feel like 3-inch is really the place to be for Cinewhoops.
Yeah, and if once you have prop guards on a 3-inch, I mean, it's loud, but I don't see any reason you can't take a 3-inch in most places.
Yeah, well, there you go. You got some choices here. GEPRC CineLog. They're all going pusher style too, which is supposed to increase the efficiency a little bit. We got the GEPRC CineLog. We got the Holybro Kopis 2.5. And then if you want something even smaller, there's the iFlight Alpha C85. It's the Alpha A85, but converted to a pusher configuration. And those are all linked down below.
All right, so let's look at some frames now. We've looked at bind and slice, so let's look at frames. So Speedybee has their new version of their frame. They've had a frame for a little while, but we've got the Speedybee FS225 V2 freestyle frame.
It's a hot looking frame. Got these nice, good looking metal parts.
Yeah, even with there's a lot of metal there. I wonder how durable it is because like we looked at the weight is somewhere around like 120.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of metal there. So I'm interested to see how these hold up. The arms look pretty solid. I mean, overall, it looks like a pretty solid little frame.
Yeah.
Looks like the back has sliding mounts for the 20x20, which is a little odd.
Yeah, looking here, they show in the back that you have 30 millimeter mounting plates, which is nice. There are various 30 millimeter things you might want to put in the rear. But the 20 millimeter ones are slots. And we've seen the Moon Goat frame has had issues with the screws sort of coming loose and sliding around. If you're going to use those, you definitely want to get some nylocks and tighten them down so the screws don't come loose. I don't really see that as a plus. I guess it lets you slide things forward and backward. Fine. What do you think of this arm design here? This slotted arm design.
It's interesting. It looks like it goes around the screw there, but I'm not really sure. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not really sure how much that's actually going to help with durability.
Well, I'm always happy when they don't make you remove the stack screws to change an arm. That's just an absolute deal breaker on a frame for me. And most frames don't do that. So the weak spot for this type of design, I think, can be that this breaks off when you take a hard enough hit.
Right.
I don't think this arm looks like it's going to break here, like the Diatone Roma arms were doing. This looks thick and robust enough that it's probably not going to break there.
Yeah, I wonder,
maybe.
I wonder if this counts as column damping.
I don't know, man. You got to ask Chris Rosser that one. It's a cute frame. Having the front end be metal is going to improve durability, I suppose. $50 is a good price. Yeah. All right. Next up, we got another. This frame is from Camera Butter. They make those ND filters for your camera. Now they're making a frame.
Yeah. Apparently, they've decided to get into the frame business.
$70. You better be a good frame for $70.
Yeah, it's interesting. It looks like this is their goal is to do a similar platform, but for 5, 7, and 8 inch.
Seems like you can swap the arms to go to a dead cat style.
Yeah, so they're you can basically do whatever you want on this frame is kind of the idea, it seems like. So they say 5-inch cinematic with no props in view, low camera tilt. So you flip the arms over to get the dead cat. You can do a 7-inch or 7-inch arms.
Clever. It's the same arms to go to dead cat. That's very clever, actually.
Yeah.
It seems like an unremarkable frame in many ways. I don't mean that as an insult. It's just like many frames. It's got a 20 millimeter in the back and the front. That's nice. 20 and 30 in the center. Are those accessible from the bottom? Can we see the bottom? No, we can't see the bottom. Be interested to know how accessible those are through the bottom.
Looks like they're probably not, but I would hope they are.
Is that the? Yeah, interesting. Because we got this bottom plate here, this brace plate here.
Yeah, that was a common issue in older frames, especially was just that you have to take the bottom plate back off to screw your stack to that middle plate.
Let's look at the build tutorial and see what the deal is. No, they got holes. They got holes through. Great. They got access holes. That's good. Good. I guess my criticism of this frame would be that at a price of $70, that's like a bargain basement frame like the Source One is $25. Like a clone ripoff frame from Banggod, $20-$30. A budget frame in the decent quality mid range, I think, is around $50, like the RunCam frame we saw. Between $70 and $100 and up, you're starting to get more into the premium range, and there are there's a lot of competition in that category. And this is a pretty Spartan basic design. It's hard to, it doesn't come with 3D printed parts, apparently. So like camera mounts and stuff, antenna mounts, he's not going to come with those. I'm surprised to see a frame like this coming in at $70. I guess is my only criticism.
Yeah, I think I'm going to agree. I think more like 50 would be, like 40, somewhere in there would be killer. But yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see if the design features are enough for people to want to fly this, or if it has really good resonance profile, anything like that. I don't know.
Yeah, that's the big question. That's the big thing it's offering. This is its killer feature, is the ability to change the arms and have the different configurations. And if that's a desirable feature for you, then you're going to want to pay for it. It doesn't look, I don't see anything like wrong with it, but it also doesn't, other than that one feature, it doesn't seem to have a lot to sort of make me go, oh, that's really cool. So, all right. Got two more frames here, Blunty. Both of them are from Catalyst Machineworks. The first one is the Banggod, which is a frame that they've had out for a while. I flew a Banggod, and one of the things I commented on about my build was that it was too heavy. Now, that wasn't entirely the frame's fault. I built it heavy. It had a Hero 8 on it. It had a full-sized air unit, not a Vista. Came in around 800 grams. But I believe the Banggod, the frame alone, was around, I think, 140 grams. Maybe a little lighter, maybe, but it was heavy-ish. Now they've got it down to 115 grams. I don't know how they did it. Original, yeah, 145. 145 is the original. Sorry there. 115.
Yes.
Go ahead.
So they're working to basically compete with a lot of these other, like light frames, and trying to get in on the, the light stuff. I don't know. It's hard to say, because when you look at this frame, I don't necessarily see a lot of changes in design.
Right.
And so you wonder, like, oh, was the original just over-engineered and it didn't need to be that heavy? Or did they not, like, change the design, and this will be, like, easier to break,
Well, they address this a little bit here in the product listing by saying, will this be as tough as the original? No. We can't defy physics. So they've made some of the plates thinner, and the other thing they say is they've swapped for aluminum hardware in a few locations, which I got to say, if you swap in aluminum hardware to get your frame down, I think all frames should be weighed with steel hardware. And then you could say, look, if you're like steel does this right with the apex. There's the apex, and then there's the lightweight apex, which uses aluminum hardware to get the weight down. But you got to acknowledge if you're using aluminum hardware, because some people, myself included, will never accept that. Every aluminum M3 screw I have strips out in the first 2 weeks I've owned it, or shears off. So fair enough, but they've got the weight down. The durability is not going to be the same. Maybe the durability is still more than enough or comparable. I mean, you got this cross brace. That 115 grams is with this cross brace. That's something.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see how it holds up. I mean, I definitely know people who've broken arms on the original Banggod, so I'm interested to see what happens.
Yeah. I mean, if you're the kind of person who broke the arms on the original Banggod, don't buy this one. Don't buy the light version. Stick with the original.
100%.
All right, but I'm pleased. I mean, it's nice that Catalyst is paying attention. I mean, there definitely are people out there who want their frames to be lighter. There are people out there who like them heavier, thicker, and it's nice that they're serving both of those audiences. Yeah. Check out this motor. You remember the Karearea Toa turbine motor that had fins that blew air down through the coils to help cool the motor, right?
Yeah, and I remember specifically one of the things we mentioned when we talked about them before was that they only blew one direction. So you had directional motors again.
Yeah.
And you could only use them on specific corners to get the cooling action.
Yeah.
And now they've solved that problem, I guess.
Well, sort of. I mean, yeah, the directional motors was a big problem, for me at least. It wasn't just that the threads on the motor, because if you have motors that are clockwise versus counterclockwise threaded, who cares? Just tighten the nylock nut down. It's not going anywhere. But these, literally, the fins went the wrong way. And so, like, you could spin them the wrong direction, but you wouldn't get that cooling effect. And considering they were like $27 motors, you really wanted that. These ones are unidirectional, but also don't work as good.
Yeah, I guess you have to give something up because you've got the bars in the way now. But.
I can't find that. There was a page I saw where they were talking about the motors. I think he said it's about 60% as effective. So I don't know what's going on here. Like, how do these blow air downward? It doesn't look like it. I don't know. I don't know.
I have to assume they've done the modeling.
Yeah, maybe it's shaped. Maybe it's wedge shaped and it blows air down. We're going to just take them at their word that it has that cooling effect. These have always been really nice motors. Like, there are some $27 motors out there that you look at it and you go, how much of this is just because of somebody's name is on it? But the Karearea motors have always had just immaculate machining, extremely good quality. It's an expensive motor. It's a very nice motor. At least it's not directional anymore, I guess.
Yeah.
See if we can see any of their secrets here.
Oh, they are tilted. Okay.
I see. It's not just a flat fin. I see. It's a wedge so that whichever way the motor spins, the air is pushed down through. And look how much, I mean, think about the machining that you had to do to make this shape. This is a single piece bell too. It's not a two-piece bell. Crazy. There you go. Here's what I'll say. Compared to many other $27 motors on the market, I think this one actually might be worth $27. It might not be worth $27 to you. 30 grams. Damn. 30 grams. That's a good weight, too. All right. 260-degree windings. Impressive. All right.
And now, to the other end of the spectrum, we're going to take a look at the DYS SunFun motors. Coming in at $13 and $15. DYS is back on the scene, and they're making motors.
And I think when DYS went out of business and sold all their IP to Flash Hobby, I think everyone said, no, DYS, what will we do without you? And now DYS is like, I'm back, honey. And you're like, okay.
Yeah. I don't know how much there is to say here. I mean, it seems like a cheap budget motor. They have all the signs of being a cheap budget motor, but I think it'll be interesting to see how these play out with people's testing and what the durability and stuff is like.
Yeah, DYS used to sell the Samgooks for like $8, and I thought at an $8 price point, if that's where you're at, this is the best motor you can get. It wasn't objectively a good motor. Like, 1 out of 5, the bearings were bad from the factory. But at the $8 price point, okay, buy a DYS Samgook motor. Here's the problem with these motors. I'm gonna lay it out for you right now. Do you know what I'm typing?
100%. Eco 2. Yeah.
Emax Eco 2. Oh, okay. Well, to be fair, it doesn't come in those sizes. It's $14. This is a 2207. No one should buy this motor. No one should buy this motor. You should just buy an Emax Eco 2 if you want a 2207. $14. Infinitely better motor. Just based on the reputation of the company. 2204? What's a good 2204 for $14?
I'm thinking who has one right now.
What about 2203 and 2204? Okay, so I guess what we could say, Blunty, is if you're looking for an inexpensive 2203 or 2204 motor, and you don't want to pay $17 for the FPV cycle, or let's face it, it's out of stock, which it constantly is. Here's one option, but I would be interested to hear in the comments if there are, I know they're out there and we're just not thinking of them, other 2203 and 2204s from, like, does Zing 2204. Ooh, here's a 2203.5. $17, see? Is it worth $3 more? Definitely. But, hey, maybe $15 is where you're at. All right. Thank you, DYS. It's good to have you back. That is actually all the motors we've got this month, Blunty. Let's move on to props. And the prop, I think the most exciting props to come out the Gemfan F3 and F4. These are some new 5.1 inch props. What do you know about these?
Not too much. I've heard these are decent from a few different people who've flown them. To me, these seems like they're trying to come into the same bracket and compete in the naming and stuff with the ethics props. It's a little interesting though that they've decided 5.1 instead of 5 because, like, you know, the P3 is a 5.1, but like the S3, S4, and S5 props from ethics are all 5s, and now you got the F3 and F4 from Gemfan. So to me, it definitely seems like they're like digging into that naming convention.
Yeah, I definitely see the parallel there. There has been a movement in props. I think it started with the HQ-V1S to move to slightly larger diameter props. Not all the way up to like 5.5 inch, which is just too different, but to just say, why are we going to restrict ourselves to 5.0 inches exactly? What if we go to 5.1 or maybe 5.2? Bob Ruge is working on a 5.25 inch prop and try and find the best balance of diameter and pitch. And that seems like what's going on here. They're sort of leaning into that movement.
Yeah, I think these will be good. These are a decent like addition to their line. I think these are also gold to be a little lighter than their other prop, offerings that they have. So also some cool colors. I'm not gonna.
Yeah, it's true. They come in a bunch of different colors. True. I do like to color coordinate my props. Midnight gray. If you'd like to, that's a great choice for if your props are in view and you want to minimize the visibility while they're spinning.
Yeah, I like these colors because they're not like the generic, like, hey, it's red out of a Crayola box. Hey, it's yellow out of a Crayola box.
Yeah, it reminds me of a jam that I used to eat.
Yes.
Yeah, so very interesting. I actually have these. I haven't gotten to try them out yet, so I'm looking forward to trying them. But yeah, going to be really awkward if I like them better than my own Gemfan 51477. But it is what it is. So, lastly, we got some batteries. All right, now I want you to make sense of this for me, Blunty. This is an 850 milliamp hour 4S battery. Oh, yeah, okay, right, makes sense.
Yeah,
it's 850 milliamp hour 3S. You think of a quadcopter you'd fly with that?
Yeah, like a little toothpick or all kinds of.
Yeah, maybe. Sure. Yeah. 850 milliamp hour 2S.
Probably probably a toothpick, a little big, but probably a toothpick. Yeah.
Yeah, something like maybe that little 2S quad that Mr. Shutterbug sent me. He suggested I fly it on a 550. Maybe we could stretch their legs, get it up to an 850 if we needed to. Here's an 850 milliamp hour 1S.
Yeah, I'm not sure where this fits in.
Yeah.
I'd be interested to know. This is another one I think for the comments. I'd love to know where you'd use this, but I think something we discussed a little bit previously was just that the PH2 connector here doesn't make a lot of sense. Because first of all, they're calling it 60C. So we're trying to pull 50 amps through a PH2 connector, which seems insane.
It is insane.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's two things going on here it just feels like they got this 850 milliamp hour cell from their supplier, which presumably is GNB. And then they were like, what do you want? And they're like, well, I don't know, make us a 4, 3, 2, and 1. They just like when you go to eat sushi and they hand you the list and you just like check all the boxes. And they brought them out all the sushi. I don't know what quadcopter is going to fly with an 850 1S, but maybe like a FPV cycle baby tooth. I've flown it with a 650. It was fine. I could see you flying it with an 850, but God, I don't know why you would make an 850 1S with a PH 2.0 connector. It needs an XT30.
I think if you swap it to XT30, I think maybe like the Nano long range might be okay. Something like that. Yeah.
So RaceDayQuads, either you know something we don't, or you need to go back and get this made with an XT30 because it doesn't make any damn sense. It doesn't make any damn sense with a PH.
I mean, I know there's variants, but an XT30 is called because it's supposedly 30 amps, right? I mean,
yeah, exactly.
So an XT30 would be half, like half the rating, C rating on this. Yeah.
Well, there's two things going on there. One is there's no world in which this is actually a 60C cell that's going to deliver 50 amps. That's just not going to happen.
Also true.
The other thing is that that amp rating, like in my battery testing, I've pulled 120 amps through an XT60 for 2 minutes and it didn't melt. It was hot as heck, but it took it. So that's a continuous amp rating. The XT30 can do more if you need it to for the length of a flight. Just don't want to do it for too long. But yeah, this needs an XT30. I don't know why you would build this battery with a PH connector. All right. There's one more battery out there that is a high current micro battery. Blunty, you actually brought this in. Tell us about it.
Yeah, so these are the new Tattu 300s, and conveniently they have them in a BT2 as well as a PH2. If you want that extra draw, if you've got some BT2 whoops and stuff, that's how your quad family works. Then they're there for you. These are super interesting though because these are using what seems to be, I haven't 100% confirmed, but I'm like 98% sure. This is a similar technology to the Newbeedrone Nitro Nectar battery, which had been my favorite battery forever.
The Nitro
Nectar battery, the draw is crazy good. They don't sag near as much as other batteries. They're the only thing I fly in whoop races up to this point. But I was able to experience some of these Tattu 300s at the Whoop Wars race recently, and they seem like they're great batteries.
Yeah, those Nitro Nectar Golds, I have said that they're the best tiny whoop battery you can get. And the only argument people have made with me is that the Jesse Perkins's tiny whoop batteries are on par with them. I haven't tested them, so I can't say for sure. But, shout out to Jesse Perkins. They're either the best or the second best. And there's something different about the way they're made. Like if you hold them, the cells feel different, don't they?
Yeah, I believe, they're like a square. And it's actually a solid square. There's not plastic making the square. It's like how the cell is shaped. Instead of like the round cell you normally get. And from my understanding, it's because they're accordion layered instead of wrapped. So they like layer them back and forth in a zigzag, and it creates this like, this square battery. But in my experience, it's been the best technology so far of these little 1S batteries that I've flown. So I'm super excited to see these at a price point, which is, I think, really good compared to what we saw the Nitro Nectar Golds.
Yeah, I was just noticing that.
Those Nitro Nectar selling them for what they had to or whatever. But like, if you look at these prices, $19 for 5 batteries is quite a bit better.
Yeah, I mean, we could take a look. Newbeedrones, I think, where if you just bought them one at a time, it was like $7.
Yeah, I think if you do 4, I think the price was 4 for 20.
Let's take a look. Here we go. Newbeedrone Nitro Nectar Gold. It's $7 for a single. Then if you go up.
4 will. They don't do that anymore. So 4 is just 10% off now.
No, 4 will have 10%, 8 will have 25%, and 20 will have 35% off. So let's just check that. It was $7.99, $6.99. So 7 times 0.65, 35%. They're $5 a shot if you're buying 20 at a time. These are $4 a shot in packs of. Are they $4? Is that a pack of 5? No, it's even less than that.
A little bit less. Yeah.
Jeez. All right. Well, if Tattu is in fact the manufacturer of the Nitro Nectar Golds, as some have suggested, then they're undercutting the crap out of Newbeedrone and screwing them. But hey, that's life, I guess. 19 divided by 5. It's $4 a shot. Newbeedrone, you're in trouble.
Let's check real quick. I think they sell singles too. If you want to see real quick and just see what a single's going for.
Yeah. What am I searching for? Tattu 300 mAh 1S. These were the only listings I could find.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
The other question that people might ask is the BT 2.0 worth it? And my testing, the answer is definitely yes. I would, if I were serious. Do you run BT 2.0 or are you doing PH?
I don't, just because everything is PH2. And previously, up to this point, my favorite whoop battery has been the Nitro Nectar Gold, and it's only available in PH2.
Good point.
At this point, it's difficult for me to want to transition over because that's a lot of things. The other thing I'm seeing here, which is pretty clear, is they're charging you $1 battery for that connector.
Oh gosh, yeah.
And I don't know that I would pay $1 a battery for that connector.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, that's a significant price difference. Presumably, that's Beta FPV's take. The BT 2.0 connector absolutely does perform better. I've got a video I did comparing it to a PH 2.0, and it's something like 0.2 volts less drop at, I don't remember the amp rating, but it's hands down better. But is it worth it? You know, if your Cinewhoop has BT 2.0 connector, then you're not going to be able to like borrow batteries from somebody. Nobody else is going to have it. So you have to really commit to it. But yeah.
Yeah, I'll say, like, just as an example, when we were at the Whoop Wars race and I was in the finals, I needed 2 extra batteries, and I was able to borrow batteries from like 6 people who all offered them, and that's because I was not using BT2s.
I mean, you could theoretically just keep a little adapter cable, but then you're going to be losing the performance advantage of the BT 2.0, but you would stay in the air. Right. So anyway, new contender for best value Cinewhoop battery.
Yeah,
top tier performance, reasonable price,
and fly them. I'm excited to get these and fly them a bunch on my own whoops. So.
Okay, all right. We got just a couple little odds and ends that we're going to stick in here, and then we will do the giveaway. Here's the first odd and end, Blunty. This is a prop adapter that lets you run standard quadcopter props on your DJI FPV quadcopter.
Yeah, it was pretty neat. I think this is something people have asked for quite a bit, and somebody made it for them. So I can only say kudos, and that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. When people are, it literally replaces like the whole, you know, disc on top of the motor. That's really slick. I guess it's going to save you money because you're not going to have to buy expensive DJI replacement props.
So I guess
yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I guess there's a few questions here, which is like, if you don't use props with the same characteristics as the DJI props, you can't PID tune it. So, like, if you're crazy out of line, or those DJI props aren't like similar to a normal prop, which to me they do look kind of like thick plastic, like heavy props. Then I'm not sure how this is going to fly with these props on it.
That's my biggest concern too. Is you're not going to be able to go too far from the props that DJI used, because you can't PID tune the quad. You certainly wouldn't go up. You could theoretically go down in pitch, and you know you'll have a little bit softer flying, but it won't try to fly to the moon. But the problem is that thing is already heavy and already kind of underpowered. So you can use different props, but I think you're going to want to try to find the closest props you can to the DJI props, because they've engineered that thing into such a corner that there doesn't feel like there's a lot of latitude.
Pretty cool that somebody did this, though. Neat little product.
Credit to Aikon for that. Next up, this is a cool little quad prop wrench from iFlight. Got a 2mm and a 1.5mm driver. And then it may not be obvious if you've never used one of these, but these are ratcheting prop tools. And whichever way you put on, you want it to spin, you flip it around to the direction you want it to go. Pretty slick.
Yeah, it's a neat little tool. I think this is super handy to have some little wrenches on your wrench.
Yeah. My only thought about these tools is that these hex drivers are not as useful as they seem, because like if you're taking your top plate off, it's fine. But if you need to actually get in anywhere to turn a screw, the handle may get in the way compared to a normal driver. But it's tiny.
Yeah, this seems like, hey, let me adjust my camera tilt or retighten my camera in the field, or hey, let me like redo the GoPro mount, or something like that.
All right. This, I'm a big fan of these, this style of tweezer. This, they call it a jeweler's tweezer or reverse action tweezer. Holds the wire automatically for you. Luminier's got a set of them. They got them for the FPV Crate. Fine. $20 for 3 tweezers. Yeah, fine. Last one. Go ahead. Sorry, any thoughts?
Good to have in a pinch.
Ha ha! In a pinch. Yeah. I can always count on you for puns. Last thing is this soldering kit from Sequre, the SQ-001. It's similar to the TS100. It's a really good budget soldering iron. This kit comes with 4 different tips, some solder, fine, a power adapter, and an XT60 adapter. And it's $100. It's a difference here. Bigger, definitely get the bigger power supply.
Oh, yes.
PD 45 watt power supply. Is that bigger? Output voltage 20 volts at 45 watts versus, they're not going to give us the wattage. I have to do the math. That 19 volts at 3.4. That's more.
Yeah.
Why is it more expensive? 66. Why is this a 60 watt supply that costs less than this 45 watt supply? Is it USB? Is it a USB? I bet that's it. Can I see it? No, I can't see it. I'm not allowed. It feels to me like that's a USB adapter, and that's why it's different. It's actually doing USB PD. Yeah, it says PD 45 watts. That's a USB. That's the difference. So you can run this off a USB power supply. Well, all right. I would probably take the 60 watt supply then, the 19 volt one. Anyway, if you're looking for a soldering iron, this is a pretty decent one, pretty good value.
And
go ahead.
So can this run on 6S or is this 5S only?
I think the official rating is 19 volts. No, it says 24 volts. There you go. Yeah, everybody I know runs them on 6S, and it's not a problem. Official rating is 24 volts, so you're fine there. Yeah, there's a great little budget soldering iron if you're just getting started, or if you are need something for your travel kit, and you can get the iron by itself for 35, 40 bucks, I think. So you got a little kit here for $100. Anyway, that brings us then to the end of the show. And the question of what we're going to do for the giveaway. What product are we going to give away? Let's see, Blenty. What did you see? What did you see that stands out to you?
Either your frame, I think either your frame if you want to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe like Rosser's frame would be cool.
That's what I was thinking too.
Okay.
I was thinking let's give away Chris Rosser's frame. Okay. Not that I'm not proud of my frame. But I'm pretty sure my frame is out of stock. I'm pretty sure it's sold out in the week since I announced it. And let's give Chris Rosser a bump instead of, promoting myself. His frame is $70. So let's give away 6 of them. 642. Yeah, let's give away 6 of them. Give away 6 of Chris Rosser's AOS5 frame. Instructions for how to enter are in the video description down below. There's a link to a Google form that you fill out to enter your name. Full terms and conditions are down there. And winners will be announced in a pinned comment at the top of this video. So if you go down and look and you don't see the winners right there, they haven't been announced yet. And if you need to check, then you don't need to message me and ask me, have you announced the winners yet? Just come back to this video and go look. And by email to the winner, of course. All right, Blenty, thank you so much. We've done another month.
Yeah, it's a good one. I'm excited.
Yeah. Always good to get your perspective on these products and just have somebody to bring stuff in and bounce stuff off of. I know everybody says my videos are better with you in them. I'm not sure whether to take that as a compliment, but I think you should take it as a compliment.
Yeah. Well, I always like doing these videos with you. It's always a good time.
And they're always also better with Henry in them. I see him snuggling back there and taking a nap. So, all right, man.
Yeah,
see you next month.
Favorite. Yeah.
He is.
Hey, man.
All right, bye. Do you see this baby? Isn't he cute? Hit the subscribe button. Join my Patreon. Use my affiliate links. Or just keep watching videos. That's better than nothing. Go, subscribe to my daddy.